Hi, I'm Raylene Taskoski, and I've talked to over 10,000 women about sex over the past decade. Welcome to the Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast.
Welcome to Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed. It's where you can get questions answered like,
how long does it take the average man to orgasm?
and,
How long does it take the average woman to orgasm?
and also,
why is it so hot in here?
audiences agree it's brilliantly funny. Raylene makes sex ed fun. This show is entertaining, factual, and relatable.
There's nothing worse than being halfway done with sex and feeling your vagina shut down on you.
You've got to see Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed.
I am ready to go do that comedy show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast hosted by Raylene Taskoski and some other guest. And today's guest is Dana Dowdell. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's like cowbell, like
Cowbell.
more cowbell, like
Dowdell. I just didn't know where the emphasis went.
That's okay.
You know, it could be Dowdell or it could be Dowdell.
It's wherever you want it to be.
All right. The emphasis on the wrong syllable. That's how you sing Calypso. Do you know where that's from?
No.
The original Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh,
that's
God.
That's how old I am.
I used to watch, like, Justin Timberlake. Mickey
Yeah,
Mouse
no,
Club.
the one before that. The one with, like, Annette
Oh.
Funicello. You don't even know who Annette Funicello is?
Yes. No idea.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there for, like, the original. I mean, I was young for it, but my babysitter used to always have it playing on for, I don't know, her kids or whatever. But, and I don't know if it was repeats or whatever, but yeah. You put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. That's how you get Calypso. You just never know what you're going to get on this podcast.
All the things I don't know.
It's just, you know, you younger people, you millennials, you have your things that I don't know. And I've got Calypso.
We definitely have, like, curated a lot of shit that doesn't make sense. But I do feel
No,
like
the new generation did that. What the fuck was the dab?
Oh, is
Why
that's that, right?
Why did they need that?
What's the new thing where it's like you throw it up and then you, like, catch it?
I don't know.
That's a TikTok thing.
Oh. It's like, is that another, like, when you throw it to somebody else and then somebody else catches it and passes it on? Because
no, it's like part of people's TikTok dances where you, like, throw it up and then it's like, it's called a whoa, like, whoa. Like,
oh. Good
are you sure you don't
Lord.
want to use the video for this?
Lord, the things these kids come up with. And then there was the whip and then the nay. And if you're ever on my, I don't know, are you on my Instagram?
I don't think so.
Whenever Sarah wants to learn Sarah's a dancer. So I have to learn all the dances. So I knew the whip nay. I knew the, what was the other one they did?
Soldier Boy?
I knew Soldier Boy. What was the, I don't know. She's always making me do dances. We did one on Thanksgiving morning.
Which
to
one?
Michael Jackson something or other.
When quarantine first started, I was, like, rapidly getting into consuming TikTok, and I would watch YouTube tutorials on how to do the dances. So my partner, he works still throughout the pandemic, and he'd come home and I'd be like, you know, learning how to do, like, the savage dance. Like,
I could not get that one. I tried so hard. It's really hard. I couldn't. And so my maiden name is Savage.
Oh, perfect.
And it used to be like I wanted to do a TikTok. Jesus, that's how old I am. I wanted to do a TikTok that was like, you know, when I was in high school, and then have one of my kids yell at me like, you know, you're savage, you're a beast, you're a wild, untamed animal, because this happened. And then, you know, like when I first had kids, and then you bring out the Pocahontas song, savages, barely even human. And now I'm 52 and it's, you know, savage, classic, bougie, ratchet. So why the fuck is savage cool now when all of my life it was unpopular to be a savage?
I feel like I have to use my social media manager to, like, help me come up with TikTok content because it causes me such anxiety. But no one else can steal this idea. But you know, WAP. Wet ass pussy.
Yeah, I do.
So, so I
there was
thought
a
of,
hard eye roll there for those who were not here, not physically watching me.
so I sure as shit don't want to do the WAP dance, but I was thinking how fun it would be to do a WAP yoga dance.
Okay.
Like all the different poses
Right.
that coincide with the dance, but I'm not very, very flexible. So I need someone else to get on board with it. And I haven't found, everyone else is like, yeah, funny. And no one's like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Tell Sarah, she'll do it.
Perfect.
She can do the WAP dance. She's done it. She has a video of it. She won't, she showed me because I'm her mom, but she's like, I'm not going to put that out there, but you know.
Yeah. Cause there's like a split involved and like.
Well, she's a dancer. So, but I was just like, I don't, it's that to me, it's so cringy. Yeah. And I know I'm all about female sexual empowerment, but then I'm also like, ugh, too much, too far.
It's really funny. I was listening to your other podcast and you guys were talking about the salt and pepper.
Right. That was hysterical. I could not believe that Bradford did not know what that song was.
But it got me thinking that like that generation's salt and pepper, let's talk about sex, is our generation's like
WAP. Yeah, probably.
You know?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I have another podcast that I do with 3 guys that are all young enough to be my children, and it's called Undebatable. And it's really very funny, where we interact pretty well with each other. And last week we discovered that one of them had never heard the song Let's Talk About Sex. And it was funny because I started it, then Curtis was in on it, and Steve was in on it, and then Bradford's looking at us like, what are you guys doing?
It's so funny. Curtis has like such a sexy voice.
He really does.
Oh,
it's delightful. Before I even knew him, like before the podcast was starting, we were talking about getting sponsors for the podcast, and one of them was mattresses and one of them was Instacart. And I was like, well, I mean, everybody would love to hear me talk about Instacart, and I'm pretty sure I want to hear Curtis's sexy ass voice talking about mattresses.
I would listen to Curtis's voice talk about like anything. The weather.
But it was funny because right after that I was like, oh, inappropriate, you barely know me. Well, welcome to being on a podcast with me. I can't stop me from saying shit. You're certainly not going to stop me.
No shame in your game.
I just do what I do.
Yeah. So be your authentic self. Who cares?
Exactly. All right. So let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about it.
So we actually met because we are on a committee.
Yes.
For I'm just going to say our TEDx committee. And because, you know. And
that's going to happen in 2023.
It's going to happen someday. I mean, the problem is I really had put a lot of stock in what that was going to do to move me forward in my speaking career. And then nothing happened this year. My comedy show didn't happen. My party stopped. I was just telling somebody this afternoon, I couldn't do my comedy show right now if you paid me to. I haven't said half of the words out loud in 7 months. Ugh. It's torture. Like sometimes I'll do a live party, but not the same.
No, it's not the same.
And I forget half my jokes. I forget the punchlines to my jokes. I'm like, I wrote this joke. How did I forget the punchline?
Got to practice still, I guess.
I got to go back and watch the videos. That's how I learn. I put shit on video and then I listen to it over and over again. But then you were going to go to one of my comedy shows, but you got sick. Probably COVID.
Flu. It was not COVID. It was flu. It was the flu.
And then, I don't know, at some point we started talking about sex and I realized you're a freak. No, I'm kidding. You're a regular person.
I'm a normal person that just wish people talked about it more. Because I find stuff out about people and I'm like, why do we not talk about this more freely? Like, why do we not talk about afternoon delight more freely? Or
that's my favorite.
Swingers or whatever. No shame in your game, but people just don't talk about it openly enough.
I love afternoon sex. Actually, because my husband and I have been married so long and I'm kind of old now. we started doing it in the afternoons or before we go out. So like when I'm on a cruise, because we love cruises, we'll have sex before dinner because I know that after dinner, after drinking, after dancing, I'm either not going to want to have sex or depending on how much I drink, I'm not going to feel anything. So, it's not
Is it like scheduled?
It's not scheduled per se, but we have like if it's a Thursday, there's a good chance it's going to happen. But that's just because he used to work from home on Thursdays. And so, we got into this thing where our code word is, I kind of want a nap. Yeah. And so I don't know. That's the code word for meet me in the bedroom.
I love it.
Yeah.
We used to do these things where, like, when it was getting dry, I would put like a theme on the month, and it was like Orgasm October, and it kind of took away like the pressure of like actually having sex, where the focus was mostly on like making the other person orgasm, which was really like an interesting dynamic because it took a lot of like the anxiety and the fear out of making whoopee.
Orgasm October.
Yeah, and then I was telling my girlfriends about it.
Sexy September.
Yeah, I was telling my friends about it, and then they were like, we would come up with like all these wacky names for all the months.
Give me the D-December.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be like Dicked December or something.
Yeah, Dickcember.
Dickcember.
What are we gonna do for No Shave November? Just leaves it all on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Go searching for it. It's in there.
It's there, I swear.
You're going bushwhacking.
It's an adventure.
That's one of my jokes about it's one of my jokes that I do in No Shave November, but I also do it every other time. That's like, the problem is that the reason guys can't find the clitoris is because we have shaved so much that we've given them a 5-lane highway without even a rumble strip on either side to let them know when they've gone off course. So what you should do in November is let it all grow in and just shave the bit directly above the clitoris and let him snuffle it out like a pig with a truffle.
Oh. If only they were that smart.
Right. Well, I mean, you could just shape your pubic hair in like an arrow and have it end like.
Yeah, like you can't fuck it up.
It's right there.
But they still can fuck it up. That's the sad
do.
thing. They might know where to find it, but they're not very good at.
Yeah, which is why sometimes it's funny because I'll do some jokes and lesbians get mad at me a lot, and they're like, "You didn't say anything about lesbians," and I'm like, "Aren't you all women? Everything I said was about women." Like, and I don't tell the joke about you guys don't know how to find where it is because I just assume if you're a lesbian, you can find the clitoris.
You better fucking know where it is.
Like a baby with a nipple. You just go down there like chomp, 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 chomp. It's not hard to find.
Where it is.
Especially if you know where it is. So, I mean, do you want me to make fun of you? Because I can, but it's not necessary.
Oh, God. It's funny that they get offended.
Yeah, well, because as much as I try to use partner as often as possible, if I'm talking about a toy that's specifically for a penis, then I'm going to say him, but most of the time I try to say your partner. I try to be aware. Inclusive.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm talking about products for men. And some lesbians think I'm downright fucking hilarious. And other ones are like, she didn't talk about us at all. And I'm like, I talked about women the entire time.
Those people probably need to get laid more. And then they wouldn't be so uptight.
I don't make too many judgments. You don't have to like me. It's fine. I mean, I would love it. In a perfect world, I would be ecstatic if everybody loved me, but I've been alive long enough to know that that's not ever going to happen.
No.
I'm not ever going to make everybody happy, and I may not be the right person for everybody, the right comedian or the right sex toy lady for every person, and that's going to have to be okay.
I think that's the really cool thing about, I feel like the world that we live in now is like, it's much easier to understand that there's like something or someone that you resonate with. There's always like, you could be a freak and totally into some weird thing or weird hobby, and there's going to be at least one other person that's into
And
that hobby.
you will
that you
find
can
them on
connect
the
with.
internet.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I had an opportunity the other day. Somebody was like, I have this group of kids and she's like, they're transgendered and lesbian and gay and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I am not the right speaker for that group. And I just know that. It's not that I don't want to. Well, I'm first of all afraid that I will accidentally offend all of them just by being myself, but I'm not the right speaker for that group. I don't have I don't have a close enough relationship with anybody that I feel like I would have anything that I could offer them is basically it. Like I know some transgender people. I obviously know gay people. I know, lesbians. I know I don't have anything to offer them because I don't have any personal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm the right speaker. And then I was like, no, I'm not the right person for that group. That's all. And,
But that's okay.
Yeah. I had to be okay with it. But part of me was like, why aren't you the right person? Why can't you be better at this? Why, blah, blah. And I'm like, can I just do what I do pretty well? Can I just do that?
But also just because you're not the right person for it doesn't mean that you're like offensive or against.
Right. Well, and I know I'm not. I'm pro who be who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Be who God made you to be.
Yeah. As long as you're happy.
Exactly.
As long as you're happy.
Right. I don't get in the way of it. I mean, and that really bothers a lot of my Christian, because I was raised born again Christian. I have a lot of super born again Christian people in my life, and they're like,
I was just about to ask if you have a lot of Christian listeners.
I don't think I have a lot of Christian listeners, but I was raised that way, and Christians find it frustrating when I say, or I would assume, I actually have never had a Christian be upset because they don't listen to my podcast and they don't fucking know I said it, but. I do not think that God created our bodies and then said, with all this capacity to love and all this capacity to orgasm and all this capacity to feel and have emotion, and then said, but there's only one way you can do it. I just don't think he did that.
I think that's entirely fair.
Right. And so, and then I stick to don't judge.
Yeah.
Don't go
Stay
poking around in the twig inside, the little mote in someone else's eye. If you've got a motherfucking twig straight up your ass, don't.
I just love, I'm a firm believer people need to stay in their lane a lot more than they do. And,
although if you wear pajama bottoms to Target, I do judge you.
Do they wear them to Target or is it more Walmart?
No, it's mostly Walmart. So if you have brought your slumpy ass over to Target where we wear pants, then I'm like, what are you doing? And if you're wearing them with your slippers, come on, have a little self-respect. Jesus Christ, that really does bother me. And then there's the Tiger King people.
Only in the town that we live near.
Right.
Something else.
I don't know. No. See, that was the thing. When the Tiger King came out, I was like, there are worse people than pajama pant wearers.
You can always be surprised, I guess.
I was like, I'm doing a talk next week, and one of the lines is like, and here is Tiger King, and you could be sitting on the couch, slumped down with a stain on your shirt and your hands down in your pants, Bundy style, and still look at them and go, I am classier than them.
All relative.
It's all relative.
Oh. So sex.
Yeah. What? All right, I'll ask you some nosy questions. How old were you when you lost your virginity?
Okay, this is gross. I feel gross saying this.
I could probably outgross you. Let's see what you're going to say.
I was 13.
Oh, okay. So was I.
And I look at people who are 13 now and I'm like, absolutely fucking not.
Right. Why would you do that?
Yeah. So it's just.
I lost mine on a bet.
Oh.
He bet I wouldn't, and I bet I would. It was horrible.
But
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was an under-supervised 13-year-old for sure.
I remember it distinctly. My mom and sister were on a trip to Italy.
Oh.
During.
Well, fuck you. I'm going to have sex then.
Exactly. So my dad was, he had to watch me, and I had a quote unquote serious boyfriend at the time. And, I was a wild one, and I was like, fuck it. I'm going to make this happen. And so I did. But it's gross now that I think about it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's even grosser to think about losing your virginity on a bet. I mean, I was literally like reading a book while he was trying to get into me, which he did get in eventually. I had no interest in actually having sex with him. I was just like, well, I'm not going to lose this bet. And then it'll be gone and I will have had sex like everybody else. And then I found out later on that nobody else had had sex. So
yeah, I feel like I think I was like the first of my friends to lose my virginity. And then like, I don't ever remember like having any bad labels put on me in my, middle school and high school years. But I remember like, as I was exiting high school, I started to hear all these things that people thought of me, or like all these assumptions that people thought of me, or rumors associated with like my sex life. Like there was a rumor that I had sex in the middle of the lunchroom, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? In the middle of the lunchroom, who starts a rumor like that?
Who believes a rumor like that?
Horny high school kids, I guess.
It's so dumb. Yeah, I don't think I had any rumors about me because mostly I didn't have any friends. So there wasn't anybody to start shit about me because nobody cared.
Raylene.
No, I'm serious. Like I was basically just a stoner, and I moved. I went to 3 different high schools, so I didn't really have any friends that I went up with. And yeah, I don't think I ever had. I mean, that was the thing. I wasn't known as a person who had sex. I was known as a person who was high all the time.
Do you still stay in touch with the person that you lost your virginity?
God, no. God, no. Like, I don't think we even kept in contact for like 3 days after that. I was like, all right, well, I don't need you. I still remember his name. Yeah, no, it's definitely not worth it. I still remember his name, but yeah. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I think I saw him once in college or after I got married and divorced and I moved back here. I think I saw him somewhere and I was just like, whatever. This happens when you live around. Never mind. I was gonna insult an entire town of people, and I won't do that. But they deserve it.
And you can. That's fair.
No, I really don't want. They're bringing the pitchforks down the road, like we heard what you said about us.
And they probably would.
Yeah. So I was 13, lost it on a bet, and what I remember mostly was my mom was in the hospital a lot around that time, so I was home with my brothers a lot during that time because my dad worked second shift, and this was summertime, and my brother walked in on us while we were trying to have sex, and he told my dad, and what I remember most is that my dad was really disappointed in me, which is probably the worst thing ever. When my dad was disappointed in me, that was the end of the world. And he was going to take me to the movies, and he decided that he would not take me to the movies that night as, like
punishment.
A punishment. And to this date, I still have not seen that movie as a self-imposed punishment. It was Time Travelers, I think.
Isn't that funny though? It's like, oh, you learn your lesson. You had sex. Don't ever do it again.
Right. Yeah.
Don't never do it again.
I mean, that was almost 40 years ago, and there was no sex ed, and there was no, and of course, like I said, the born again Christian thing. So we weren't really talking about sex, and my mom wasn't around to talk to me. It was just my dad, and he was like, just don't do that.
It's really weird. I don't think that my parents ever had like the talk with me.
Right.
I remember, and I'm pretty sure I still have it, but we had a book growing up called Where Do Babies Come From? And it was like an illustrated book, and it was so fucking creepy because the 2 characters in it looked exactly like my parents. Like that, it's fucking weird. But that's how I learned about like how sex happens. But I never like learned about safe sex. Nobody ever had, the conversation with me about pleasure or anything like that. Right. I just it was like through osmosis. But I did have an older sister who I remember, like when I was 13, I'm pretty sure she ordered me my first sex toy.
Nice. That's a good sister.
So that was like, she was kind of leading the way into that life, I guess.
Jeez, understanding. See, I learned to masturbate when I was 4. I didn't know that it was masturbating. I just knew that it helped me sleep and it felt good. And I didn't learn what that was until I had read Deanie by Judy Blume. And and then, she had a, what was it? Like a special spot that made her feel good. And I was like, oh, I have this spot. Oh my God, I'm not the only one. And
so
it took so much longer before I realized that it was, like supposed to be part of sex. Because I had sex a lot before I had an orgasm, but I had many, many orgasms when I did not have sex.
Yeah, and I think that's common. This is like super fucking weird, but I had my sister had a chronic illness, cystic fibrosis, and she had like this thing that was like, I don't know, when you have CF, you shake your lungs to try to get up mucus.
Yeah, yep.
That shaking your lungs is a really nice feeling when you and so I probably was in the same boat. I don't know if I was like 4 years old, but I learned about like how certain things felt good before I even had sex.
Right. Vibration.
Or that pool, the pool
jets in the pool.
Yeah, the jets in the pool.
Yeah.
Loved it.
All those, and that's why, and I like now when we're talking to little kids, people are getting better about not shaming little kids, when they find things that vibrate or feel good. I was so funny. My grandson was over, and it was last year, and he was in the pool and he's on the steps, and all of a sudden he just turns and the jet hit him, and he was like, woo. And there was a crowd of people around when it happened, and we were just like, look away, don't say anything. Because I don't want him to be ashamed of feeling good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's called stimming now. We don't call it masturbation when we're talking about children. It's stimming. Mm-hmm. And you just got to be like, hey, you know what? I'm glad you're enjoying that, but you have to enjoy that in your room, or in the tub. You can't enjoy that in the living room when we're all watching TV.
Public. And
then when my grandson was like 2.5, and they get little woodies. They do. And so when I'm changing his diaper, and I would always say, do you need penis time? And I would just hold the diaper up and then, look away and give him a minute. And then I look back one time and he's staring deep, like he's staring at me. And I'm like, okay, you can have penis time, but you cannot do it while you're staring at Grammy.
This is why I can't have kids. I can't do it. I can't handle that level of like, just like things I think if I had children, I would just lie to them the whole fucking time. Everything I would tell them would
Santa
be
Claus,
lie.
Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Everything that tastes good is bad for them.
Yeah.
Everything that tastes bad is good for them.
I just would lie the whole time.
It's not that bad. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being a mom. I know a lot of people say they like being a grandmother better, but I think I liked my girls spaced out 4 years apart a little bit better than I like having grandsons spaced 2 years apart. They're very loud. Yeah. And I love them, and they are amazing, and they are smart, and they are handsome as fuck. And they're wonderful, but they're loud.
They're boys.
They are boys. Well, my husband got me noise-canceling headphones for Christmas. So when I go down and visit, or for my birthday. So when I go down and visit them next time, I'll just keep them on all times just to dull it down a tiny bit.
There you go.
And I cannot wait to see who they grow up to be.
That is, I guess, the cool, like, I don't have, obviously kids of my own, but a lot of my friends have kids, and it's cool to see from like, the last time I saw them, what they've learned.
Yeah, it really is. Geez, just watching these kids grow up. And of course, now they're not like my kids. You don't notice your kids growing as much as you notice your grandkids, because you only, like me, I live far away. So I see them every 3 or 6 months. So it's a huge difference each time I see them. And I'm like, oh, you know the alphabet now. Oh, you know, you know all your colors. You can draw. You know how to write the alphabet. You can math.
That's cool, though. That's
instead
really cool.
of slogging along as they're learning it, I just show up and they know new shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a new toy every time I pick them up.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But yes, you sometimes just have to say, it's okay if you do that, but in your room, please.
Yeah. Privacy is important.
Exactly.
Privacy is important.
The whole, saying the proper body part names, which it's so funny because my daughter She would use penis, but she would also alternately call it a doodle. And I said, just don't. Just always call it a penis. But she would be like, stop touching your doodle. Right. And then one day he was doing something. She's like, you're such a doodle head. And I just stared at her and she goes, I heard it. Shut up. I heard it.
So I used to call it growing up a tilly. I don't know where it came from. Like a lady bits or tillies. And then I went to like this alternative school for a little bit and there was someone named Tilly.
Oh, so you were a bad girl.
No, I wasn't a bad girl. This is like 3rd grade. But there was someone named Tilly and I'm like, I can't call it a Tilly anymore. But I have heard, I listen to like a lot of true crime podcasts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they will always say that you need to teach your kids the appropriate anatomical name for it, because if there's ever, a situation of abuse, they're referring to, like, it's very clear that someone touched their vagina or penis.
I'm pretty sure everybody's heard the licked my cookie story.
Right. Yeah. So.
And that, they're not doing themselves any favors by being embarrassed by the body parts. And I'm like, are you embarrassed by your nose? Are you embarrassed about your elbow? Are you embarrassed about your big toe? Then why are you embarrassed about your vagina or your vulva?
Right.
Your labia or your clitoris or your testicles or your, like, it's just a body part. Why are you giving it power?
Yeah.
There's no power. There's no power until you're about 17. Then you have all
a lot of power
you want. Exactly.
There's a lot of power in the pussy.
Yes, but not when you're 9.
Yes, correct.
Very little power at that point.
Correct.
Right. And just teach them the proper things.
Yeah.
What do you have a funny sex story? I told you to germinate on this overnight.
I know, and I couldn't think of one. I feel like in my business, all the stories that I have are like people drinking on the job and stuff, not really ever having sex on the job, even though I know that they do it. I don't know. I think I'm a freak, but I don't really have any like crazy sex stories either.
All right. Where's the craziest place you ever had sex?
In a closet at my boyfriend's grandmother's house.
Really?
Like doggy style. It was sweaty.
Yeah.
Sweaty.
Yeah, and tight. And it probably smelled like mothballs because it was grandma's closet.
Yeah. I wish I was I wish I had more good, like, stories. I had a middle of the afternoon day stand once.
Oh.
Which was funny.
A day stand.
Yeah. It was like, I'm going to leave work early at 2:00. Meet me at my house. And that was it.
Oh. Was he not good?
No, he was great. But then we both I started seeing someone else and he started seeing someone else and never just came back around.
I don't know if I ever told the story on my podcast. I might have. I don't know. It's been 34 episodes. I have no idea what I said and what I didn't say. Some of it's probably lies. I have no idea. But I had gone. I must have. But I had gone home with this guy from a bar, and he would do magic tricks to get everybody's attention, and he was kind of cute. And then we went back to his apartment, and because I'm pretty good at orgasming, like I can get what I want fairly quickly because I know what to do and how to do it, right? And so I would say it took me 3, 4, 5 minutes, right? And this motherfucker went and went and went, and he was trying different positions and moving me around the room, and I was like, you know what? I literally said to him, and I still feel bad. I hope it didn't scar him forever. I also remember his name. I was like, this is the worst sex I've ever had. And I got my clothes and I got up and I got dressed and I walked out. I was like, read the room, dude. Can't you tell when someone is bored?
But I also feel like there's I think for men in particular, there's so much misnomers around sex, that you have to last. I literally give me 8 minutes.
Yep.
After 8 minutes, I'm like, okay, you know.
Wrap it up, son.
Yeah. Or you have to, have this crazy rhythm and, it's just not what it looks like in the movies and on porn all the time.
It's porn, and that's I have talked about that before. It's how porn has ruined sex, because guys think they're supposed to go and go and go and go and go, and they're supposed to be bam, 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 bam. And maybe there are some women that like that, but then you just tell them, I like that. For the rest of us, like, what the fuck are you doing?
I know.
I'm gonna need that later. Like, stop beating on it.
Or they have to be like hard at the drop of a hat.
Right. No, that's So
that's
the
complex part too.
I have told many women that if you have a guy that's doing the rabbit and he's just slamming away and he's taking forever, grab him by his hips and slow him down. Because the reason they're lasting forever is they've created friction and they're not feeling anything. So if you slow him down to a snail's pace, it's going to blow his mind. And he'll, and
other things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I kind of meant that, but yeah, you just slow them down, slow them, so like control the situation. And then they'll just be like, boom. And it works. I've heard have people come back like, that fucking worked. I'm like, yeah, I know. Because I remember there was one guy and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop. If you could, I mean, I smell smoke, motherfucker. First of all, I'm not lubed enough for this. And second of all, I'm not interested in that. You know what you're not hitting at all? My clitoris.
Oh, God.
Slow down.
Yeah. And it does not, like, 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So, my husband and I, we had, when we first got married, we would watch Law and Order every single night. And one night, and it came on at 10 o'clock every night. And so one night we get into bed and I was like, you want to have sex? And he's like, we don't have time. And it was 9:51. I said, we have time. So we do what we do. We get done and we turn on the TV and it's like, bum, bum. And so from that moment on, it was always like, you got 9 minutes. So that was always our joke. And then one night we had gone to Panera and we had gotten icy mochas. And I always forget, and I don't know why I always forget this, that the base of a mocha is caffeine. Yes. And we're both super caffeine sensitive. And so we got the icy mochas and then we're at home and we're in bed. We're trying to go to sleep and tossing and turning and turning and tossing and tossing and turning. And it's like 2 a.m. And finally I said, do you want to have sex? And he goes, not particularly. Why? And I said, well, I was wondering if you ever felt bad, you know, that we never have sex all night long, you know, like they do in the movies. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And I said, good, because I think anything over 9 minutes is just inefficient.
You know what it is too? It's like, I think it's very easy to get bored at that point. Like I'm a thicker person. So like there's only, you know, I'm not doing these like crazy Kama Sutra positions, like, you know, so, you know, doggy style, you're on top, I'm on top. Maybe that's it. You know, that's
I'm not a spinner. You're not going to spin me. You're going to put me on you and then I'm going to squash you.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to do the reverse cowgirl because I don't have the thigh muscles for that. I don't want to break your penis.
I mean, I might do reverse cowgirl, but you're going to get me for about 30 seconds and then I'm going to complain that my thighs hurt.
Exactly.
My quads hurt.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to have all this self-consciousness about my ass being in your face, you know? It's like, but I also feel like sometimes when the guy gets like so sweaty sometimes that it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before you have a heart attack, give yourself a break.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like, you know, and great if you are out there and you absolutely love to have sex for hours and hours, have at it. Like, but I think about this all the time because 2 of my friends have lost their husbands this year. And I was like, you better not die, motherfucker, because I can't replace you. Like, you could probably replace me because I'm, you know, I don't do a whole lot. So you probably upgrade. But I'm not going to ever find a guy that does what you do, the way you do it, the way I like it. And I'll have to, like, train somebody. And I don't want to do that. So he better not die.
I don't know that you can control that, actually.
I know.
I will say, like, I remember when I was, like, 14 or 15 and I heard that Sting he did, like, Kama Sutra and would have sex for, like, 8 hours at a time. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. And then I started to, like, have more and more sex. And I'm like, no, thanks.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm all set.
No thanks.
All set.
I'm just here for the orgasm. However fast I can get it. I mean, for me, an orgasm is like mouse, cheese, maze. Like, I know how to get there. Don't get in my way.
Yeah. I feel like I'm like, I have a very strange, like, emotional disconnect from sex. So it's really hard for me to have an orgasm. I don't know if it's because I started so young, but like, I'm just not, there's like, it's hard for me to get into it.
I feel like, yeah, it's, I don't know if that's why, but I also have a strange disconnect with sex. Like, I think last week's podcast or the one before, we were talking about sexual fantasies. And in one of them, I said one of my sexual fantasies was to, like, in my fantasy, I've taken ecstasy or something that just made me feel super sexy. And I was having sex for the sake of really just wanting to have sex. And, you know, like costumed and lingerie and makeup and like taking charge.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I didn't think it was strange, but then I started to think about it and I was like, how weird is it that my sexual fantasy is to enjoy sex? Right? Not just the orgasm, but the actual sex part. Like
to be able to do it without any anxieties or
right. And to want to. Because I mean, I could, do, I don't know what I would. I mean, I'm sure I could. I mean, I do sometimes throw on some lingerie and I'm like, wow, chicka, wow, but it's still 9 minutes.
Yeah.
I just dressed up for today, but but in the fantasy, I do things that I won't do. And, and I use it to help myself get off.
Yeah.
But then I don't actually want to do those things. And I think, well, how is there something that's connected back to me being molested as a child that makes me not want to do that? Or is that pretty normal to not want to do that?
I think it could be either or.
Right.
I mean, I'm not, I've been through lots of therapy, but I am not a therapist.
Yeah. And one of my friends said I needed to go see a sex therapist and work through that. And I'm like, I don't really do I though, because I'm having really good orgasms and I'm happy in my relationship. Do I really want to fuck with it?
No, if you're happy with your sex life, don't change it.
Exactly.
If it's good, don't move that cheese.
Yeah. But I do think it's weird that my sex fantasy is to want to have sex. Like, I want it.
No, I get that. I feel like for me, it's like I want to relinquish all control during sex.
All right. Well, handcuffs will do that. Little bondage.
Yeah, but I just think it's like, I just want to be like, to not, this is going to sound really weird, but like to not have a say.
Yeah, that's being taken is a pretty solid sex fantasy.
I'm not alone in that?
No, it's very common.
Okay, good.
Very common. Yeah. So get him some bondage stuff for Christmas and be like, you know what to do with that.
Here's your sign.
Right.
Here's your sign.
I don't even know if this was probably on the last podcast or two, but my husband had been out of town for a while and he came home with a little bondage kit, which first I was pissed because I sell those. And I was like, why the
fuck money in my pocket.
Why are you buying sex toys from a sex toy company, store when I have that like in stock? So he comes home and obviously we knew nothing about bondage because he literally tied my legs together instead of apart.
Oh my God.
And then later on when we were done with 15 minutes instead of 9 minutes, I think it was. And then I was like, what do you want to do for dinner? He goes, you mean you didn't make anything for me? And I'm like, I was a little tied up. Exactly.
We have like all the I want to say like the tools. We have we have I bought like bed straps. And it's really funny because we just recently hired a cleaning lady. So when she comes over, we like, tuck them away.
Pretty normal, actually. It really is.
We have all the things. I think it's just a matter of like, the seasonality of our sex life.
One of my friends, actually, she had her toy in her bed and her housekeeper came and she had forgotten that the housekeeper was coming that day. And so the housekeeper stripped the bed, remade the bed, and then made the bed, and then put the toy right back under the sheets right where it was when she found it. And she was like, I was so embarrassed. And I was like, I promise you it is not the first time.
No.
It's pretty normal.
Yeah. And that's the thing, there needs to be more normalcy around it.
Right. Like my daughter had a bullet with her in same thing in a hotel bed. And I don't remember what upset her, but there was something like, I don't know if the housekeeper made a comment or just smiled at her strange in the hallway, but you know, she had left it in the bed, and then the same thing, they made the bed and then they just like put it on her pillow or whatever. You know? It happens all the time.
Yeah. And I think just more people need to have toys.
Right. Well, that's true. Everybody should. It should come standard.
I agree. I had a sex toy party for my 18th birthday, and I made my dad go out to the bar while I had all these ladies over. And it, like, I was telling you the other day, it like changed for a lot of my friends. Like, they had never had a sex toy before. Mm-hmm. My friend Ellen will tell me, like, oh my God, that was like a life-changing party for me. Mm-hmm. Life-changing.
Right. And it's the point is, and it's what I talk about in my TED Talk, the point is the more women get together and talk about sex, the more women's sex will get better. Because a lot of us are raised with these weird church or modesty or whatever you want to call it, thoughts about sex and the whole, you know, you're supposed to wait till you get married thing, knowing that nobody waits till they get married except for the girls who get married at 18 so they can have sex and get divorced at 19. Right?
I also feel like there's a part of it too, and I experienced this where like the start and end of sex is traditionally dictated by the man. Like, it's very hard to have sex if he's not hard, and it's you can't really have sex once he's finished.
Right.
So the in between, like, I think we as women, we just have never, our sexual pleasure in a sense is defined by the bookends of a man's sexual pleasure. And I think we need to get away from that because it doesn't always have to be that way.
Right. Well, and there's also been many occasions where my husband will finish and I will not be finished. And then he will go clean up because we use condoms and everybody knows it. And he will get back into bed and I'd be like, help me.
Yeah.
And then I will finish with his assistance.
And I think for men at that point, like, it's a mental game for them. Like, they have to get over their, you know, over their high to be like, okay, let me focus on.
Right.
But I don't think that they learn that either, because they also learn start and end.
Right.
So
I remember seeing a meme not that long ago that it was a guy had written, I don't know where he had written it, but he's like, my girlfriend has this weird sex thing that every time after we have sex, she masturbates right afterwards. So, you know, and somebody was like, who's going to tell him? Like, you didn't do your job, dude. That's why she's finishing your job.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so interested that you use condoms.
Oh yeah. It's two things. One, I always got itchy from his sperm or ejaculate. And so I didn't enjoy that. I don't like the mess factor. So it's yours. You bring it to the bathroom, you throw it away. And that's pretty much it. Like, my vagina is a national park service. Carry in, carry out. No child left behind.
I was recording in the podcast studio over the weekend, and Bradford's showing me like the sanitary things to put on the microphone.
Oh yeah, the little mic condoms.
Yeah, I'm like, Bradford, I haven't put a condom on in 7 years.
Yes. Nope. 24 years of marriage and 2 years of dating before that, and we have always used condoms except for the very short time that we were trying to get pregnant.
That's interesting.
Also, I never did well on birth control pills. They made me just crazy.
Yeah, I got my tubes tied actually a couple of years ago because I know I don't want to have children, and
they let you?
Yeah.
Because I thought, is it not a thing anymore where you have to be like, you have to at least be like 30 years old, plus you have to have 2 kids and your husband's permission and all that shit?
I had gone into it with a list of things. Like, here's reason number 1, I don't want to have kids. Here's reason number 2. Here's reason number 3. And I don't know if it was the person that I was seeing for like my annual, but I was like, I want to get my tubes tied. And she was like, okay. She like looked at my age really quick. I think I was like 28 at the time. And she was like, okay, let's talk to one of the surgeons. And I'm like, fuck yes. It was so easy. And like, I'm so entirely grateful for the process and for them, you know, not shaming me. And, you know, like there was zero shame, which is really nice.
I really wish we had started with this topic way back in the beginning of the podcast, because that would have been something that we should just.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really interesting and really cool, because there are so many places where there's all these list of rules on whether or not you can get your tubes tied.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like I thought I wanted to have kids, and then I just realized, I would say in the last like 6 or 7 years, that it's not for me. I'm very career oriented, and I have gotten a little bit of like, oh, what does your partner think about that? Or why doesn't your partner just get a vasectomy because that's reversible? And I'm like, no, it's for me. This is my decision.
Well, getting your tubes tied is also reversible sometimes.
I wasn't going to tell my parents. I was actually not going to tell them at all. And then I had this like really bad fear that I was going to die on the operating table, and that my partner was going to have to tell my parents that I died getting my tubes tied, and I was just going to like break their hearts. And so I was telling my parents, like, I'm going to get my tubes tied. And I said to both of them, like, I'm 31, I have eggs, like we could adopt, we could make a test tube baby. Like there's so many different ways that you can become a parent without having, you know, to do it the traditional way. So yeah, I'm really great. If you had to do like annual sterilizations every year, I would do it. It was so fantastically easy.
I just think it would be cool. So does anybody ever give you the whole when are you going to have kids thing?
All the time. Because
what do you say?
I always say that we aren't having them. And then I once had a guy at a bar say, oh, you'll change your mind. And I'm like, you don't fucking know me.
Right.
One.
I feel like if that was me, I would be like, first of all, none of your business. And second of all, I had that fucker fixed.
Yeah. It depends on the person. Like if it's someone that I know, I'll sometimes mention that I got my tubes tied, but most of the time it's just, we're not having them.
Yeah.
But we also get a lot of like, when are you getting married? We get a lot of like, when are you conforming to societal beliefs and norms?
Yeah. I think for me, like sometimes I am curious when I meet people who are in long-term relationships and they've chosen not to have kids, or if they don't have kids, you know, it's obviously something that you want to ask people because it is part of the societal norm, but obviously I've learned not to. But I am curious as fuck. Like, just tell me.
Yeah.
Can you not have them? Do you have issues? Do you not want them? You know, like, just tell me. Don't make me ask.
Well, and I think, you know, I'm grateful in the fact that it was a choice for me, because I know there's a lot of people where it's not a choice. I have a friend who's she's in a lesbian marriage, and they tried for 2 years to get pregnant, and they're finally pregnant, and I'm so excited. But like, yay. For her, it was so important to be a mom and to have that experience. And I know for a lot of other women, it's the same way. So I'm grateful it was a choice for me. And I'm grateful that like, it wasn't a forced circumstance for me.
Yeah. I loved being a mom. So I want everybody to have that wants it, but I certainly don't want everybody to have them just because.
Yeah.
Just because you're supposed to.
My dad says that. He's like, oh, it was one of the most beautiful things I ever did, Dane. And I'm like, really, Dad? I was a piece of shit growing up. Like, are you sure about that?
That doesn't matter if you're a piece of shit. Your parents love you. It's something we cannot help doing.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. I mean, you still got women who show up and support their murderous kids. And you didn't do that. You just had some weird sex. Anyway. Do you want people finding you? I'm guessing not.
Probably not.
Okay. So then we'll just default to, you can find me on Instagram at standupcomedysexed, standupcomedysexed.com, RayleneTaskoski.com. And I've set up a Facebook group just for this podcast so you can participate in polls, ask questions, politely share an alternate point of view, and generally let us know what you think of this episode and any of the other episodes. So search for Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast on Facebook. Please subscribe to the podcast, share, leave comments. If they're funny comments, I'll read them on the podcast. And I think that's everything I had to say. Thanks for coming on and talking about sex, Dana. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad I met you. And it's funny because I really enjoy talking to you, because when I met you, I thought you were a very, you know, like, you know, a goody two shoes.
Oh, no.
I know. Right after I met you, I was like, why is she talking to me? She knows I talk about sex, right? People like her don't usually like people like me. And now I find out you're just like me and I like you
just
a lot.
like you. You know what? I'm a human. I'm like an authentic human. That's what I want to be, is really just no shame in my game. So
yeah. I mean, I talk, you know me. I'm pro sex, pro condoms, pro masturbation.
Love it.
Pro however you want to be happy.
Love
but
it.
There's a reason God gave us that button right on the outside where we could find it accidentally, damn it.
There we go.
He did not intend us to hide that under a bushel.
Yes, correct. Correct.
It was a weird way to bring a Christian song into that.
That's all right.
All right. Thanks for being on my show, Dana.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.